So now we are recording. Good afternoon. It's just us, Denny. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask if you don't mind, or you can also use that little chat box up in the corner. Looks like the balloon that you see in the funny papers, and you can just type in a question. And if CoreVision can't see it, I will let them know there's a question. So anyway, I'm glad you came this afternoon, and it's always a pleasure to have Andrea and Beau and Brent come and present. This is a really good one about, do I have enough to retire? That's always a big mystery, and they solve it nicely. It's a very practical presentation, gives you some great tips on how to figure out where you stand and what you might need to do. We'll start with Brent Thoman. Brent is on the Hospital Foundation Board of Directors, and he is also the chairman of our Planned Giving Committee. And their job with Planned Giving is to do a lot of this kind of education. And he brings Beau and Andrea along, and it just works out great. So, Brent?
Well, thank you, Angela. Again, my name is Brent Bowman, and just here to talk a little bit about planning for whether you're 20 years from retirement, getting ready to retire, or even retired, is how do you do this? Our recommendation for everyone is to have some type of plan. Today, we're going to talk about two different versions, a short version to at least give you an idea where you're at, and then that's with Beau. And then Andrea is going to talk a little bit more detailed of financial planning that goes into a little more Social Security and taxes and things like that. So we, first of all, Beau will be the first one speaking. It's Beau Browning. He's been in the business, I think, 14 years. I've been in it for 21 years. Andrea's an advisor with us also. She has now been with us for 3 years. Had to remember that. That's tough for me to do. So I will turn it over to Beau. He's going to go over the short version, and also you should have a worksheet in front of you that he's going to go through. And I will now turn it over to Beau and let him take over.
Thanks, Brent. The past few years, I've been on the same committee with Brent through Major Hospital Foundation. So, and before that, when we were actually doing a big capital campaign, had helped out with some of the small business groups. So, very familiar with the organization. I think, Angela, is this our 4th year doing this? I can't remember.
At least,
I'm not sure.
At least 4.
I think it's at least 4th year of doing this for the hospital, and we've always had great attendance, great feedback, and we hope we provide you some value today. But what I'm going to go through is what we would call our short version retirement income worksheet. Angela had emailed that. This is a proprietary form that we get out, that we use, that we created. I'll give some kudos to Andrea. She helped me really bring that to life. It was kind of my idea that she was able to put in an Excel file and make it happen. So I will just start out. A lot of people like to fill it out by hand, that's perfectly fine too. You might need a little calculator at the end. But the first thing that everyone needs to understand or figure out, whether you do it via a budget or whether you know that number off the top of your head, is how much money you need or want in retirement broken down on a monthly basis. If you know that annual number, divide that obviously by 12. Most people want to build in, obviously fixed expenses, but then some discretionary money for, of course, some vacations every year, or just, extra going out to eat, or maybe you spoil your grandkids, things like that. So what I'm going to show here, Andrea is sharing the screen. So you're going to follow along on the scenario we use. Obviously, this is just an example. It is not representative of anyone's situations. These are just numbers that we picked out of thin air to show you an example. You certainly feel free to put in your own numbers while we're going through this. So I'm starting out with a desired net monthly income of $5,500. And then I'll scroll down here, and on the Social Security income, let's go ahead and put in $2,400. And on the spouse, let's put $1,800. Again, you can find those estimates on a Social Security statement. Sometimes that gets mailed to you. Used to be that they mailed it every year. That they're really pushing that online. Some people, I still get a few people telling me they got one mailed recently. I don't know if they've made that like every 5 years. Sharo probably could tell you that answer better than I could. But online portal at ssa.gov, anyone can have a username and password, and that old green statement is on there, up to date. So anyone can find that. Let's go ahead and put a pension for the spouse at $400. A lot of people, usually what we're finding is people stop working, but they want to do something that gives them a sense of a day-to-day or normalcy, or have a reason to get up out of bed every day, especially at the beginning years of retirement. So let's go ahead and put in a part-time job, making $600 a month for the primary individual there. I'm going to go ahead and leave rental income blank. If somebody had, other properties or farm income, that's what you would put in there. And then let's go ahead and go down to investment assets. So of course, a lot of people this day and age have the bulk of their retirement assets in a 401k. So let's go ahead and put $185,000 there. And on the spouse, let's put $115,000. Over the last 10 to 20 years, Roth IRAs have become increasingly popular. Some people outside of their 401ks, now even inside, will utilize them. But let's just assume the spouse has $30,000 saved up in a Roth IRA. By the way, the maximum on that, subject to income limitations, is $6,000 for an individual that's under the age of 50, and $7,000 for an individual over the age of 50. Let's move on to non-qualified taxable investments. Now, a lot of people say, well, what is that, or do I have that? This would be money that is not designated as an IRA, a 401k, a cash balance pension, a Roth IRA. It is not considered retirement designated by IRS purposes. It is money that has been at some point or another put in your bank account, and you went and invested it, or you inherited it from a parent. Some people have legacy stock that they've owned for a long time, and it's been in the family. So let's go ahead and put a $30,000 number there. Annuities, another big component of retirement. Any of those can be qualified or non-qualified. They could be pre-tax, after-tax. They could even be Roth IRA. So you got to kind of figure out which category you want to put it in, but as long as it's counted somewhere, this worksheet is going to work. Health savings account. Almost everybody has this now, as we've gone away from what would be the PPO world to now, the high deductible HSA plans. So let's go ahead and put $15,000 there. That money, if it hasn't been used for medical costs, now you certainly can keep it to offset premiums or pay deductibles or any medical care, things even at CVS. I think you can even use it sometimes for toothbrush and things that are medically necessary. But you can also use that money in retirement should you not have the expenses on the health side. It could be utilized for retirement. Got to be careful on the taxation of it, but we want to at least put that in a total pot of money, understanding that exists. And then cash, CDs, money market, let's just put another $15,000 there. Most people have some type of buffer that they're working with, just in case. So this total, our worksheet that we sent to you should have the equations that transferred over. So if you've pre-populated this on the computer, this should add it up for you. So that total asset is $390,000. Now this next part is an important part for me to explain. So a withdrawal percentage. You'll hear this possibly from experts from time to time. What is going to make my money last? What will allow me to not dip into principal, or at least run out of money over a 25 or 30 year time horizon? Almost always a 4% withdrawal rate lasts over 90% of cases. So we threw a lot of different scenarios at it, run a Monte Carlo simulation, even extreme scenarios. 4% is very, very close to 100% success rate in retirement. 3% is almost a guarantee. I can't ever say that word in this industry without saying the word almost before it, they will show you that that has a 100% success rate over our history, but we never want to tell you that it's an exact science. If you get into 5, 6, and 7%, it really brings that probability of success down. So we want to tell you the reason why we're picking 4%. So the annual income from those investments at 4% on 390,000 is 15,600. If you break that down monthly, we've got $1,300. So we just divide that by 12. So if we go back up and we add that money back into the fixed income total of $5,200, that money that came from Social Security, from pension, from working beyond retirement, those types of things, we would have $6,500 total dollars. That would have achieved our $5,500, but don't forget about the nasty little thing called taxes. So we got to net out taxes. So we typically will tell people that they're going to fall somewhere between 15 and 20% federal, and normally a 5 to 6% on the state. So we're showing a total of 20% here, 15% federal, 5% state. Some people are higher, some people might be lower. That would be $1,300. When we net that out, now we have a slight shortfall. So we've got $5,200 net dollars a month coming into our bank account. We wanted $5,500. So if we're short by $300, that's that big red number there. It would be green if it were positive. That big red number down there is what we need to figure out where are we going to come up with that number. Andrea is going to scroll here to the second page. One of the ways, obviously, that the worksheet is going to show you, the one way is to save more money and to accumulate more assets. How many more assets would we need to accumulate if at a 4% withdrawal rate we wanted to make up for that $300? Well, we multiply that by 12, and then we take that number and multiply it by 25, which would give us our 4% withdrawal rate. And that number comes to be a $90,000 shortfall. That gives you at least a number to target moving forward and giving you, okay, if $90,000, saving it up, growing my account, based on the fluctuation of the stock market, is that going to take me 4 years, 3 years, 2 years to get that number? Two other ways for you to also make up that $90,000, obviously work a little bit longer, earning that income, save a little bit more, but also now the new age way, maybe your part-time work in retirement, maybe you bump that from $600 a month to $900 a month of income. That maybe that's working 1 extra day a week, or maybe even only 4 hours a week, something like that, to get you that extra income that you need. What I like about this worksheet is it's very simplistic. It basically you just can follow it through yourself, put in your own numbers, and find out, how short am I, or am I over, to get some confidence in where you're at. And if the number seems daunting, that's where we come in. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ways that we can shore that up. Obviously that number can, I guess, be a little more scary if you're sitting at 65 or 66. But I always tell people this: don't worry about what you have done in the past. We can always make changes from today forward. And so we can make fixes to things. It's not just that, oh, it's too late. Oh, it's too late. Don't ever feel that. We can always make the situation better. I'm gonna, at this time, does anybody have any questions? Do we have any questions on the online here, Angela? I don't see any, so okay. At this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Andrea. Andrea, again, has been with us for 3 years. Andrea has passed her CFP designation. We are waiting on a time frame for that. She's basically waiting on one thing to be able to publicly make that aware, but I'm just gonna throw it out there because I'm very proud of her that she has done that. What that stands for is Certified Financial Planner. She is really our in-house planning expert. She does all of our, the software that we use is called Money Guide Pro. She does all the plans for our clients, keeps them up to date, helps them with access online because it is a portal. that people have access to so they can see that information in real time. But again, she has been a blessing to our firm, and I'm going to let her take this away so that she can explain some of the in-depth features that this short version of Worksheet wouldn't give you if you have a more complex plan or want more information about your plan.
Thank you. So we get into Money Guide and using it, the software, we're looking at plans that require a little bit, they're just a little more robust. It can do simplistic planning as well, but that may not be necessary for everyone. So this software really focuses on your goals for retirement and what you want that to look like. So instead of necessarily having a certain dollar figure and doing a cash flow analysis, it's just really, am I going to be able to do what I want to do when I retire? So we'll kind of go through a quick plan. Again, this is just an example. So just to kind of give you an idea of how it works. Everybody's situation is different. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about planning, is it is completely different for every person. So this particular couple is a little less than 10 years away from retirement. And so we'll enter their income, and we also enter their state because the software will take into account state and local tax rates. So also, if you plan to change states in retirement, we'll put that in as well because it will adjust for that. You put in your beneficiaries, whether those are children or charities, whatever they may be. I gotta minimize this. There we go. And the software does run slow. I'll explain that when we get a little bit further in, and it will probably make a little bit more sense why. Although this thing takes a second. Here we go. And then you're also able to input, kind of as I talked about, goals, like what does retirement look like for you? So we're able to talk about those things so that we really understand what you want to do. Obviously, this is your money, this is your life, and we need to help you, work toward and attain the goals that you want to do with retirement. Then we're also going to talk about what you're worried about, some of the things that you're concerned about in retirement. So you can see some of the examples that we've used, and those again are going to be different for every person. So this particular couple plans to retire at the age of 65. You'll notice that it shows Mr. Retirement living until age 92 and Mrs. Retirement living until 94. That's the default. We can change those as well, depending upon your own personal circumstances. We'll talk about those, and if we need to adjust those ages, we're able to do so.
Thanks to our doctors, we're living a lot longer.
Yeah. So then when you get into goals, this is really where we start to personalize your plan. And needs are going to be the things that you have to have. Those tend to be retirement expenses and healthcare. Your wants are going to be different for everyone, and your wishes are the things that you'd like to have happen, but if they don't happen, you're going to be able to live without them. So our goal is to always make retirement the way that you want it, but sometimes if we're going to cut something out, we're going to start with the wishes.
One thing I would say is when we look at people and planning, they don't plan for healthcare costs, which actually may be one of the most detrimental to the income that they think they need, because they think Medicare supplements or whatever are going to take care of it. But the costs as you get older are getting more and more expensive, with Medicare cutting more and more things that they're paying for. So we definitely always talk about making sure healthcare is a part of this plan, because if not, you could actually see a plan look up a 99% probability happening, put it in healthcare, all of a sudden it goes down to 50. So be very aware that healthcare is a big portion of what could happen.
The other nice thing that we're able to do, we have the software itself, we have set at an inflation rate of 2.25, but healthcare expenses are inflating at a higher rate. So we set healthcare inflation at 4%. So we're able to make that a little more accurate as well. You can see at the top, there are all kinds of goals, college planning, anything you can think of, we can add. So, so again, adding a little more personalization. Then we're going to talk about Social Security. I'll touch a little more on this later, but they are planning to take it at age 65 when they retire. So you'll notice this little marker, that is when they're at full retirement age. So we'll see a little later if that makes more sense. Mr. Retirement has decided that he wants to do a little bit of part-time employment because he's worried about being bored in retirement. So he's going to add an additional $1,000 a month. And then along with the same lines that Beau had touched on, these are just their investment assets. They're all shown in one location, but they are all taxed differently. So as we enter them, we put them in the correct account type so that the software is able to tax them accordingly, because your taxes are accounted for in the software as well. And then other assets. So the Mr. Whole Life and Mrs. Whole Life are the cash value of their life insurance policies. Your home value would be included here. If you owned a business, the value of the business would be included here. So really any asset outside of investment assets, we'd enter here. Then life insurance, we account for. We can also add in your medical insurance policies, your disability policies, your group policies, like your group life policies. We can add pretty much any type of insurance policy into the plan. So what's nice is it's all in one location. So if anything were to happen, it's easy to find everything and know what exists. If you have stock options or restricted stock, we're able to put those schedules in as well and account for that. Then we obviously account for any liabilities. And then you'll get an overall look at your net worth. So then once we enter all that, the software is going to do the math, and it's going to run a Monte Carlo simulation, which Beau had mentioned. So it's going to live your life, 1,000 different market returns, anything it can throw at it, great returns, bad returns, multiple years of good returns, multiple years of bad returns, anything you can think of, it's going to throw at it. And for Mr. and Mrs. Retirement, if they change nothing at all, they're looking at a 32% success rate. That doesn't sound very good, and to be honest, it's not. So we definitely need to change some things. So just to give you an idea, and the confidence zone will change depending on how close you are for retirement, but for them, they need to be between 70 and 90%. That's the green zone. You'll notice there's also a blue. The blue is over 90%, and it's not a bad spot to be in, but we may be able to give them a little bit more money in retirement, or save a little less currently. So, you know, again, different for every situation, but ideally we're in the green. So we made a few changes, and we were able to get them at 82%. And I'm going to go ahead and open this page, which can be a little overwhelming. So I'm going to explain to you what we did without scrolling down and showing you everything, because there's a lot of detail on this page. So you'll notice we ran, this is your current scenario, so they don't change anything. And then we thought, well, let's try a couple more things and see, you know, how that can change the plan. So in the column at 73%, that's if they save more. So what we did there is we retire them at 65. They spend the same amount of in retirement as they did at 32%. And their Social Security, they take at retirement. But what we really changed is they're going to max their employer plan. So that 403B and the 401K that you saw earlier, those are going to be maxed out. And doing that alone takes them from 32 to 73%.
So those 10 years before retirement, they're basically maxing out the plan.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that's the impact that it makes, which is quite significant.
Yeah.
And so then what if they don't want to save more? What if they can't? That's not their situation. So, well, then we'll look at maybe working longer. So in this scenario, we retired them both 3 years later, so at 68, but we took off that part-time job. So they're actually not totally working any longer. Obviously, part-time and full-time are different, but it's still the same amount of time. And we pushed back Social Security on that one to age 70. So they're able to spend the same that they were in the current scenario and no part-time job, and that brought them to 74. So again, we're right where we need to be. But I always like to show 3 different options because we can always play within those options as well, and we can take parts and pieces from each one, depending on, you know, what you as a client, what works best and what you want retirement to look like. So in the last column at 82%, we did spend less. So we lowered their annual spending about 30%. So we went from $5,600 a month to $4,000, and everything else being the same, that brought them to 82. Now, that 4,000 may or may not seem like a realistic number for you, but something to also consider is that number doesn't include any healthcare expenses. It doesn't include taxes or any of those goals. So all of those things are also accounted for. That 4,000 is strictly just money that goes into your bank account to pay utilities, any of your needs, and any of your fun things that aren't already accounted for on the plan. So those are the 4 different scenarios that I put in for the example. We can change those. We can actually do, I believe, 6 different scenarios on one plan, and pretty much if you can think of it, we can show you what it would look like. So that really helps us. And something else that we get asked a lot about is Social Security and when you should take Social Security. What's nice is it will show multiple ages and what's called your break-even age. So at what age you would have to live to in order to break even on the number. So
yeah, a lot of people say, you know, with Social Security, if I don't take it at 65 or 66 and I wait till 70, but I had foregone that income, how many years does it take me to recoup that? That's this number or this age that she is referring to.
Right, and so you can see as the percentages change, as the different times of taking it change. You also want to take into account, depending on the person, the plan, and the situation, it may make sense to take it a little earlier and then not drain down the assets that you have. It's going to be different for every person. So this gives us the ability to really look at that and see what makes the most sense.
I think sometimes it's highly dependent upon age you put in for the end of the plan. So go back to that 94, 92 date for husband and wife. You know, if that's not realistic for you, or some people say, well, I'm not going to live that long, I want to put in. So we ask a lot of our clients, we would like you to put that number in. So we don't own that, you own that. You know, some people might say, well, I'm not living past 86. You know, obviously no one knows that, but some people don't want that so far out. And that may change what the Social Security recommendation is.
Absolutely. So this is going to give you a picture. Sometimes it's just nice to see what bucket of money is going to pay for certain things and kind of make sense of what that's going to look like. So we're able to turn on, that would be the Social Security income. And again, these numbers are showing inflation. And then that's going to be the part-time job. And your required minimum distributions are now required at age 72, right?
Correct.
So that is just money that hasn't been taxed yet by the government. And so they make you withdraw a certain percentage. That goes up every year so that they're able to tax that money. And those are required. So that's everything that's almost kind of guaranteed. And then your withdrawals from your portfolio just to meet those other goals would be that. So you can see there, you really, in this situation, have quite a bit that you'd be able to leave to heirs. And again, it's different for every person. And some people, that's not important. So we would change some of those spending amounts for that plan. We're also able to do a life insurance analysis if that's something that you're interested in, and it will show if you're underinsured, if you're overinsured. So we're able to do that with the software. Wrong page. There we go. And then one of the really nice things about the software is you're able to log in as a client into what's called the client portal. And so it has a lot of capabilities, but you're able to see your plan. One of the really nice features is you're able to link all of your outside accounts, so your bank accounts, your investment accounts. If you have a 401k or any retirement plan, you're able to link those. Really almost anything you can think of, even up to PayPal. Like, you really can link lots of different things. And then your plan will live and breathe in real time with market fluctuations and all those things, because it updates as you log in. It will update for whatever those numbers are at that moment. So that's a nice feature. You also have the play zone, which is nice if you are approaching retirement maybe and you're not sure what you want to do yet. And so here you're able to use the sliders and, well, what happens if I work 2 more years or 3 more years? And then you're able to see how it would adjust things along the way. So pretty much any of these, you can slide and change those amounts. If you end up wanting to travel more or less, whatever works. And then there's also a what are you afraid of section, which again is nice if there's something that you are a little nervous about retirement. And this particular situation is retirement. We are able to use the software for any type of goal. The reason it's so slow too is because it runs that 1,000 trial every single time that we click on anything. And so it does, that's why it takes a little bit longer to move through screens. So in the what are you afraid of section, it looks pretty much just like that play zone, only you're able to see if you have cuts to a pension or Social Security, if you have bad market returns. All of those things are able to be kind of tried out there to see. Did I click on it? There. I do feel like it's a mess. There we go. And what's nice about this screen is you're able to see needs and wants, and needs, wants, and wishes. So if you have low returns, let's say, I'm going to show one that drops. This will do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you have a 1% low returns, 1% off of what the assumption is for the plan. So if we're down 1% for your needs, you're still completely okay. You're really even okay with your wishes, but you see how obviously we always want to make sure that your needs are accounted for first. And so you're able to do that and kind of confirm that with that page. And then the other sheet is you've got a little blue link at the bottom on that client portal where you can see your report. And so it's just a PDF version of basically everything that we just went through, and you can.
Some people like to print and have a hard copy of it or file it away.
And that's nice, especially, again, if something were to happen, it's just a document that kind of says what you have and where it is, and it's easy to find if ever needed. So, all right, now. All right.
I mean, after all that, there's a lot of information that was given on that. It's really, the planning is very important, and little things can change to make your plan be better or be much worse. As she was showing, one thing we could be worried about in the next 10 years is inflation. Inflation's been low. Inflation can really eat away from those types of things. Whether you're, again, 20 years from retirement trying to figure out what am I going to do right at it or after it, there's still little nuances that may need to be changed. But overall is you need to have a plan, whether it's with us or you're another financial advisor. You need to make a plan because, as you can see, little things can change that to good or bad pretty quickly.
Yeah, just having a grasp on that is obviously key there. So we're here, we're local, we're happy to help. We have good knowledge of the retirement plans that have been offered through a lot of the major employers here, through our work with other clients. So again, we're here, we're available. If anyone has any questions or would like to reach out to us, we offer our services and would be happy to, at least have a conversation, an open conversation about your situation. So, Angela, if there are any questions, we'll be happy to take them. But we did want to put up our contact info. Hopefully that is being shared there and you can see that.
We could see it. Yeah. No, I haven't seen any questions come across on the chat. Does anybody have anything they want to ask? Okay. We did record this today, so I'll send the recording to you later, so you can, if you missed the very early part, you can see that. That's real helpful too. Denny, I see you've unmuted yourself. Do you have something?
No, I just want to thank them for their time, and I thought it was good. Made me think a little bit more about some things, so appreciate it.
Well, thanks for joining us, Denny.
Yeah, and it's not as mysterious as you might think, and there are options. So I like this presentation because it clears up a lot of that.
Right.
Anybody?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
Appreciate it.
Thank
All right, take care.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.